Today we are tackling a big question I get all the time. How do you declutter when you're a collector? Hey friends, welcome back to my channel where we talk about decluttering your home and your calendars so you can make space for what really matters. I'm Shannon, host of the Paring Down podcast, and I am so glad to have you here. Hit subscribe and give this video a like if you want extra tips and non-judgy motivation to remove the stressful excess in your life. If you love collecting, whether it's baseball cards, vinyl records, Funko Pops, vintage teacups, or something super niche, you probably already know the struggle. Collecting is fun. It's a hobby, it's a passion, and sometimes it's even part of our identity. For me, collecting has taken different forms over the years, from Beanie Babies of my youth to books in adulthood. The smooth cover and inside pages of a new book really does a lot for me, but it can also lead to clutter and that nagging feeling of where am I going to put more of these? So in this video, I'm going to share practical tips for decluttering as a collector without losing the joy of collecting. We'll cover mindset shifts, strategies, and even what to do if you're not ready to part with anything yet. Let's dive in. Here's the tricky thing about decluttering as a collector. Most decluttering advice says if you don't use it, get rid of it. But collectors don't necessarily use their items in a traditional sense. A baseball card, a rare edition of a book, or a ceramic figurine isn't something you use. You appreciate it. Collections are often emotional. They remind us of childhood, milestones, or communities we belong to. And unlike random clutter, collections usually have a purpose. It's enjoyment, display, or even investment. So instead of treating your collection like stuff, I want you to think of it as a curated gallery. You're not just hoarding things, you're building something meaningful. The key is to make sure your collection stays enjoyable instead of overwhelming. Before you declutter a single thing, ask yourself, why do I collect this? Is it for the joy of the hunt? The beauty of the items? The nostalgia? The financial value? Understanding your why helps you filter what belongs in your collection and what doesn't. For example, if your why is nostalgia, maybe you don't need every action figure from the 90s. You just want the 3 that bring back the strongest memories. If your why is investment, you might shift your focus toward quality pieces instead of quantity. And if your why is beauty, you might want to display fewer items so each one stands out. When you know your why, it's easier to spot duplicates, filler pieces, or items that just don't really fit. Here's where collectors get stuck. Decluttering feels like giving up the collection. But decluttering doesn't mean getting rid of everything. It means creating boundaries so your collection stays meaningful. Think of it like editing. An editor doesn't throw away the whole book. They cut the parts that don't serve the story. So instead of thinking, what do I have to get rid of? Instead think, what pieces do I love the most? Which ones make me smile every time I see them? Which tell the story I want my collection to tell? You may find that when you highlight the best, the extras fade into the background. This is exactly what I did with my book collection. I rejected the idea that collecting has to be about quantity. Instead, I decided my collection would be about quality. Now I get to enjoy 2 shelves of my absolute favorite titles, and most of the time now I use the library, but if I want a hard copy, I'll happily add it in. But never without reassessing my collection to see if there's something that no longer sparks that high-level must-keep joy in me. At this point, I usually replace instead of add. My collection is something I'm extremely proud of, and it doesn't overwhelm our home. Now, here's the most practical tip for collectors. Set boundaries, and here are a few ways to do that. First, decide how much space your collection gets. A single shelf, a display case, a closet. When it's full, it's full. If something new comes in, something old has to go out. Then there's category boundaries. Maybe you only collect within a certain theme. First editions of favorite authors, 1 teacup from each decade, or records from a specific genre. This stops the collection from expanding endlessly. Okay, next are quality boundaries. Shift from as many as possible to only the best. You don't need every baseball card, just the ones that are meaningful or rare. And last is your budget boundary. Give yourself a monthly or yearly budget. It keeps the collection intentional and prevents it from spilling into other parts of your life. Boundaries keep your collection special instead of overwhelming. Now, let's talk about the actual process of decluttering. Here's a step-by-step approach tailored for collectors. First, pull everything out in your collection. Spread it out so you can actually see what you have, because it's really eye-opening. Now you're going to group similar items. Put duplicates together, like multiple copies of the same book or ones by the same author, maybe 5 mugs that have a similar design. And then choose your favorites first. Instead of deciding what to toss, pick the ones you cannot imagine letting go of. That positive framing makes the process feel way less painful. And then evaluate the rest. For each one remaining, ask, does this piece fit my why? Does it add joy, beauty, or value? Or is it just filling the space? And then decide what to do with those extras. So you can sell valuable pieces to other collectors. You can donate or gift items that someone else might treasure. And you can always repurpose, maybe turn it into art or display collages or photo books. The goal is not to strip your collection bare, it's to refine it so that every piece feels special. Let's be real, letting go of a part of a collection can feel like erasing history. So here are a few ways to make that easier. First, take some photos of the items before you let them go. You'll keep the memory without the physical space. Next, you can pass them on with purpose. Sell, gift, donate to someone who will really appreciate them as much as you did. And remind yourself that letting go doesn't erase your collector identity. It actually makes you a better collector because you are curating with intention. Once you've decluttered, celebrate. Display your collection proudly instead of storing it in bins. Rotate pieces if you have more than you can show at once. That's fine. Just create little moments around them, like a reading nook with your favorite books or a shelf spotlighting your rarest finds. When you actually enjoy your collection every day, you'll be less tempted to keep everything. So remember, decluttering as a collector doesn't mean giving up what you love. It means keeping the best, setting boundaries, and making space for joy. Your collection should feel like a treasure, not a burden. So if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe, share this video with a friend or a fellow collector who might need some encouragement. And let me know in the comments, what do you collect? And what's your biggest challenge when it comes to decluttering it? All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.